Colorado's 24-hour news channel is KCNC-TV, Denver.
This is the Emmy Award-winning News 4 Late Edition with Bob Palmer, Bill Stewart, Larry Green, and Les Shapiro.
Good evening. Here's what's happening. Soviet President Gorbachev asked President Bush tonight, "What's your rush? We can have war in the Middle East anytime." Gorbachev said he would not back a United Nations resolution authorizing the use of force against Iraq. Ironically, the talk of war came at a meeting of the leaders of 34 nations to finally cement peace in Europe. The end of the Cold War. Troop levels, weapons will be reduced in Europe. But President Bush lobbied other world leaders to support the use of force against Iraq.
Our success here can be neither profound nor enduring if the rule of law is shamelessly disregarded elsewhere.
French President Mitterrand said he would support a UN resolution authorizing military action against Iraq. British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher talked tough.
And most people understand that evil has to be stopped. Either he withdraws or the military option has to be used.
But as Saddam Hussein indicated he would send another 250,000 troops to Kuwait, Soviet President Gorbachev said sanctions against Iraq should be given more time.
Well,
I think we all need patience.
Without Soviet support, the UN resolution authorizing force against Iraq cannot pass. As we said, Saddam Hussein ordered another 250,000 troops to Kuwait tonight, putting the Iraqi force there at more than 500,000. Hussein says his country will not be unprepared if the U.S. strikes.
Two difficult jobs tonight for sheriff's deputies in Colorado Springs. They must cope with the murder of a fellow officer and at the same time try to find out who killed her. Teams rather, combed the home today of Lieutenant Cecilia Benefiel looking for clues. She was shot to death Saturday in her living room. Police believe that Benefiel may have surprised a burglar. She was estranged from her husband, Bob Benefiel, who is a state patrolman. Investigators have not named Benefiel as a suspect. A department psychologist says the gunman may have known the sheriff's deputy because she was shot in the face. In murder cases, that often indicates a personal hatred of the victim.
Sometimes, especially with assaults, if there are injuries to the face, it would suggest that the assailant knew the victim and was hurting them intentionally, them personally.
Lieutenant Benefiel was a well-respected deputy who had just been promoted.
Subscribers to Mile High Cable will soon be paying more for their television service. News 4's Brian Moss has learned the company has a rate hike in the works, which will be implemented in the not-too-distant future.
Subscribing to Mile High Cable will soon be a more expensive affair. Romaine Pacheco, Mile High's vice president for division affairs, confirmed tonight the cable company will be raising its rates.
Is a rate increase in the works right now for Mile High Cable subscribers?
Yes.
There will be a rate increase within the next 6 months?
Yes.
Mile High Cable has about 92,000 subscribers in Denver. The company isn't saying yet how much more those subscribers will have to pay for cable service. But the company is saying these kinds of rate increases are not unusual. Mile High Cable has not raised its prices in 1990, but Denver's director of telecommunications, Bill Bradley, told us Mile High raised rates twice in 1989. Romaine Pacheco says the company has averaged about one rate increase per year, and she says the coming increase will be in part due to rising gas prices.
I think all of us know that we're all paying, $1.40 for a gallon of gas. We have 72 trucks that roll on the average of 8 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Pacheco says the company's programming costs are also on the rise, contributing to the rate hike. Brian Moss, News 4.
Mile High Cable is also planning some other changes. The company is going to make 14 changes on the dial. All those changes are going to be in place by New Year's Day. Among the swaps, Denver's Community Access Channel, Channel 25, is going to move to Channel 57. And that's angering the community producers who pioneered the programming on Channel 25.
It's taken us several years to establish an identity for Channel 25. And it's very important to the access users and the producers to maintain the audience that we've built up on that channel.
The community producers also say the move is unfair because some cable subscribers will have to pay deposits for conversion boxes if they want to receive community access TV. A new ski resort on the western slope is another step closer to reality tonight. The U.S. Forest Service is going to give approval to the first of 2 permits needed to build the proposed Lake Catamount ski area. The public now has 60 days to respond. Developers plan to build the $500 million resort 6 miles south of Steamboat Springs, and with luck they could have it open in the mid-1990s. A new law tonight banning loud noise from your car stereo. The Denver City Council has okayed an ordinance making it a crime in Denver to crank up the audio in your car to a point where it can be clearly heard 25 feet away. Police don't have to measure the decibel levels to issue a ticket, and you can avoid a penalty by buying a $10 a day permit.
How bad is heavy metal contamination in Globeville? Well, that depends on which study you look at. Recently completed blood tests on neighborhood children show they have not been affected by contamination of the soil. Earlier tests indicated high levels of cadmium in some children. Either way, Stapleton Homes in Globeville will be closed because of worries over soil contamination coming from the Asarco smelter.
Well, it could be called the hospital hobo disease. We're going to be back in a moment with the story of a sickness that led this man to hurt himself to get into the hospital.
Disaster in the nation's capital. A construction site collapses. People feared underneath.
There's a big storm moving our way, but it looks like it'll get hung up in the mountains.
In sports, CU talks about being number 1. John Elway shows up for the offensive game plan meeting, and the Nuggets go against the Lakers.
Panasonic presents a new breed of smooth operator. The new Smooth Operator rechargeable razor unites the old-fashioned closeness of a warm, wet shave with the convenience and no-nick comfort of an electric. Don't try this with any plugged-in razor. Smooth Operator wet-dry razors from Panasonic. Smoother than you ever thought you'd be.
If you're involved in an auto accident, don't take chances with just any repair shop. Insist on the ASE certified technicians at Perry & Terry Auto Body and Paint. Recognized by leading insurance companies for quality repair work. Women prefer Perry & Terry because of their honesty and superior workmanship. In our paint department, we use the best baked polyurethane enamel. Perry & Terry, quality work, competitive prices at 1612 Teller in Lakewood.
A terrifying street collapse in downtown Washington, D.C. tonight. An electrical explosion was followed by a cave-in at a construction site. The second collapse at this location in less than a year. Cranes, construction trailers, and the surrounding sidewalks fell into the hole. Rescue workers still don't know if anyone is trapped down below in the debris. Crews shut down the electricity, and they're trying to stabilize the area before they begin to search for possible victims.
Julie Wallace was once considered a phenomenon, an excellent blind skier and a cancer survivor. But the phenomenon later proved to be a fraud. Investigators believe Julie Wallace is suffering from Munchausen syndrome. It's a mental illness characterized by tall tales and self-mutilation. News 4's Kathy Waltz reports the sickness is complicated and seems impossible to cure.
In 1989, Julie Wallace was pedaling her way to the World Championships. Wallace was inspiring, a cyclist, swimmer, and skier. She said she'd fought cancer and strokes that left her blind. But in January, Wallace tearfully withdrew from the Winter Park disabled ski team when coaches questioned her blindness.
There's some misrepresentation or exaggeration, whatever.
That proved to be an understatement. A 6-month probe unveiled a trail of tales. It also exposed a troubled woman who, among other things, was suspected of burning her eyes with lye and puncturing her eardrum. The name for her behavior? Munchausen syndrome.
I am the Baron Munchausen.
Baron Munchausen was an 18th century German cavalry officer. The Baron liked to amuse his friends with tall tales.
This is precisely the sort of thing that no one ever believes.
Years later, he got the dubious distinction of having a mental illness named after him.
It's a very bizarre syndrome.
Dr. Stephen Dubofsky has treated a number of Munchausen sufferers, people who would produce false illnesses, some going so far as to inject themselves with feces, milk, or paint to cause infections.
Instead of saying, my mind is sick, they say, my body is sick. And they take that part of their mind and they stick it onto their body and they say, this is my problem.
For 15 years, Dubofsky tried to help Clay Lance, a man born with no sensation, no feelings of pain. Lance wandered Colorado, a sort of hospital hobo. He would purposely frustrate doctors' attempts to heal him. Lance would aggravate wounds, and he even cut off his own finger.
At those times, you must have been feeling that you weren't sure that you could make it better, but you knew for sure you could make it worse.
Yeah.
So might as well not waste your time and make something.
Cut it off, get it over with, and I'm out the door, and I'm on to something else. I'm not stagnating.
When Lance died, all of his extremities had been amputated because of wounds that didn't heal. Dr. Dubofsky says Munchausen syndrome can only be treated by untangling a troubled mind. But he says in most cases, these patients don't hang around long enough to be cured. Kathy Walsh, News 4.
Munchausen's is considered a syndrome of deception, so doctors say it's difficult to determine just how many people suffer from it.
In a minute, I'm going to take you back nearly 130 years into Colorado history. Just ahead, we have part 2 of Bob's Colorado. Tonight, the great victory of Colorado soldiers in the Civil War. Stay with us.
Hi, I'm Kathy Nelson, president of Complete Glass. We're an independent glass company. I would like to take a few minutes of your time to remind you that when you patronize your local independent business for the goods and services of your family needs, you are doing your part to help the local economy. Keep your money at work in Colorado. We appreciate it. And please continue to patronize your local independent merchants.
The Tobacco Leaf and Villa Italia Center is much more than the name implies. Their main business today is the most sought-after collectibles in the world. The Tobacco Leaf is a master showcase dealer of Chillmark pewter, and they have one of the largest selections of Chillmark art in the country. You'll also find a great selection of collectibles from well-known artists like Ron Lee, Dr. Tom Clark, Lowell Davis, and other favorites. If you're shopping for collectibles or the ideal gift, shop the Tobacco Leaf on the mall next to Joslin's and Villa Italia.
It is said that people who talk too much about their ancestors are like potato plants. The best part of them are underground. Still, I'm going to be telling you more this week about some of my ancestors who played a role in Colorado history. In tonight's segment of Bob's Colorado, the story of the only Civil War battle ever fought by Colorado troops. The Civil War was already raging back east by the time Colorado became a territory in 1861. The United States were at war with one another, and the nation would never be the same. In the Colorado goldfields, the war fired the emotions of northern and southern sympathizers alike. But Colorado was predominantly for the Union, and many of the southern boys packed up and headed for home. Meanwhile, Territorial Governor Gilpin authorized the creation of a regiment of Colorado volunteers for Abraham Lincoln's Army. The man who would be regimental chaplain was my great-great-great-grandfather, the Reverend John H. Keeler. Ironically, he'd come to Colorado to get his family away from the Civil War.
An army has to have a fort, and back in those days, this is where they built it, at the western end of what is now the 8th Avenue Viaduct, right alongside the Platte River. Today, the site is marked by a bronze plaque on a big chunk of granite here at the corner of 8th and Vallejo. The plaque reads, "This was the southwest corner of Camp Weld, established in September of 1861 for Colorado Civil War volunteers."
The regimental photo album gives a glimpse of the Colorado Volunteers, a regiment of untamed gold miners, cowboys, and farmers hurriedly learning to be soldiers, knowing it wouldn't be long before they'd have to fight an army of invading Texans. The names of the officers read like a roster of Denver street names: Winecoop, Downing, Logan, Cook, and Fillmore. But at first, the regiment's reputation was hardly warlike. Their insignia depicted their derisive nickname, Gilpin's Pet Lambs.
Ready, fire!
That reputation changed when the Coloradans met the Texans near Santa Fe, New Mexico in March of 1862. The two small armies flung themselves at one another in a savage two-day battle in the rugged arroyos of Glorieta Pass. One of the Coloradans, Obando Hollister, thought it was the hardest fight he'd ever seen.
The thunder of the Texas artillery reverberated from mountain to mountain. We could scarcely tell our guns from theirs. When the Texans came at us, Claflin's battery opened up on them like a regiment of Mexican dogs roused by a stranger at midnight.
The Coloradans routed the Texans, ending their dreams of capturing the Colorado gold fields.
Whatever happened to Father Keeler? Well, he married off 3 of his daughters in Colorado, and here he buried 2 of his sons. One of them was the first sheriff of Jefferson County. Father Keeler's legacy to Colorado is the Episcopal Cathedral, which bears the name of the minister's first log cabin church, St. John's in the Wilderness. A stained glass window memorializes this ancestor of mine, who died after 16 years in Colorado at the age of 82. Father Keeler's clan multiplied in Colorado, and tomorrow night more of the state's history is seen through the eyes of some of my people.
Larry's up next with the weather. Big snow headed to the mountains. We'll be back with all the details in just a minute.
Today in Music History, brought to you by Kmart. The Police. Michael Jackson. Men at Work. And the soundtrack from Flashdance monopolized the #1 position on the album charts in succession for 47 weeks. Reported by Billboard magazine, today, November 19th, 1983.
Oh, the Kodak Star camera kit. It's got everything, even film.
Tell me, if someone gave you this camera, would you take pictures of that someone and make sure that your 4 single brothers saw them?
It could be arranged.
Let's get this Emerson 19-inch color TV with a built-in VCR.
Yeah, we were going to spend this much on the TV alone.
We can put our old set in the finished basement.
I haven't finished the basement.
Tell me about it.
Going to get some good snow in the mountains, huh?
I think we are, and I think it's going to take a couple of days to really get it in here and get it going, get it really developing around our area. It looks like a healthy snowstorm. Actually, 2 of them that are going to be converging on Colorado. The first will come in from the southwest out of Arizona, and the 2-punch coming in from the northwest. Well, we'll show it to you on a map in a moment. Let's get outside. Here's what's happening in our town tonight. It's a pleasant evening, 46, not too far from a normal high of around 50 degrees for this date. The high today, though, was 66, overnight low of 33. Relative humidity at 51%, the wind's light out of the south at 3, falling barometer indicating it's opening the door for a system to be moving in, 29.77 inches. Temperatures around here today, these are according to the weather watchers, thanks to the reports today, folks, mostly 60s around the metro area and mostly 50s up in the higher elevations just to the west of town. Here are the statewide temperatures for you today, 60s on the plains, 50s in the higher elevations, 50s and 60s in the west. Warm air is moving out ahead of these 2 systems moving in from the west. Gunnison only dropped to 18 this morning. They were the cold spot. Wheat Ridge and Strasburg tied for the hot spot at 68 degrees this afternoon. Here are the highlights around the nation today. Big storm up to the northwest. Winter advisories are up there. And there's that little cell still forming to the southwest of us. So the Grand Canyon, the Mogollon Rim, and the White Mountains of Arizona could be continuing to pick up snow through the day tomorrow as this expands into the state. Also a winter storm watch up in the northeastern part of the country. The extremes around the nation today, record highs here and record lows back east. Now on the satellite, it shows a classic couple of storms moving our way. It looks like one big storm, but here's a little energy right here off the coast of Southern California and another system off to the northwest. That brings in the cold air. So we get the moisture into the state first, then the cold air starts to come in, and it looks like this one will arrive for the southern mountains of Colorado first and expand to the northern mountains sometime on Wednesday. This is the way it looks. It's a big blob here. But don't count on the snowflakes spilling over the Continental Divide and onto the plains of eastern Colorado. Should be remaining in the mountains of our state starting off tomorrow. And there are the two cold fronts that will be moving our way from the northwest. Also have a bit of rain, maybe a thunder shower from the Gulf Coast region clear up into the nation's midsection. Now, here's what we have in store for Colorado beginning tomorrow. Actually, tomorrow and tomorrow night. Southwest mountains and the Sangre de Cristos looking for 6 to 12 inches of snow. Then we expanded on Wednesday, 6 to 12 inches of snow for the northern and central mountains. That's the program. Let's take a look at some of the temperatures we're expecting for the state. 40 to 50 in the western valleys, 30 to 40 for the mountains. And in eastern Colorado, let's go with 58 to 68. Another pretty nice day going for the eastern plains. Then things start to cool off. Here's Denver's 5-day forecast. Tonight, partly cloudy and windy and a low of 32 degrees. Maybe. It might not even fall that low. Then tomorrow, windy and partly cloudy, 59 and 28 for the extremes. And extending the forecast, Wednesday dropping to a 58 and variably cloudy skies. Then improvement right through the weekend. We're looking for a holiday with temperatures above normal and precipitation nil out here on the plains.
Okay. Thanks, Larry.
All right.
Bob?
Days of Our Lives is one of the nation's most popular soap operas. Our critic at large, Greg Moody, is joining us this evening. He's going to have a look at a quarter century of success.
Yeah, and Bob, they're celebrating it this week. It's been 25 years of trials and tribulations, 25 years of sand through the hourglass. For 25 years, it's always started the same way.
Like sands through the hourglass, so are the days of our lives.
And that is about all that's remained the same. When it premiered 25 years ago, the focus of Days of Our Lives was Tom and Dallas Horton, their family, and friends.
I was the first one in the show, and the show was built around me, around the family in the beginning. And as it went on, plot on plot on plot, gradually, other people besides the Horton family took over.
Tom and Alice are still around, but now there are new stars, new storylines, new problems.
The world has changed a lot, and the soap changes with it. That's the fun of it.
Once, the focus was the empty nest.
I'll miss them.
Now it's international intrigue.
You take orders pretty well.
Once, they worried about moving.
Like where are we going to live?
Now there's even room for comedy.
I may actually think of something here.
Matt Ashford and Melissa Brennan, the reigning romantic team on Days, told News 4 this morning that lively storylines keep the show going, but it's the audience that makes it work.
That we have the best fans that any soap could ever ask for.
Those fans have been there since day one, worrying about Tom, Alice, and family, Roman, Kayla, Bo, and in the commercial breaks, sandwich quality.
Know what the guys at work say? Hey, Jeff, got a concrete sandwich today?
A lot of fiber in concrete. Well, Days will look back all this week, working old videotape into the current storyline, including all the weddings they've ever had, and Bob, that's a bunch. Sadly, none of the old commercials will be running.
Has there ever been a soap opera wedding that lasted?
Well, Tom and Alice have, but...
in that very show,
yes, but they're about it.
That's it.
Yeah, divorce lawyers make a lot of money on soap operas.
Thank you, Craig.
You bet.
Whole lot going on in sports tonight. As expected, the Buffs are #1, and as expected, the Nuggets are mugged by the Lakers, so stay with us.
Comitis Center, how can I help you? I can barely hear you. Have you taken something? Where are you? Just tell me anything about where you are. A phone booth? Can you see any signs? Don't worry, we're tracing your call. You just stay on the line and we'll find you, okay? What's your name? Have you taken some pills, Mary? What kind, do you know? Okay, stay with me. Keep moving. Help's on the way.
Let's talk about the anatomy of a coat. Sleeves keep our arms warm. Buttons and zippers shield us from wind. And hoods protect our heads.
Yes, coats are important, but not everyone can afford one. So donate to Coats for Colorado.
Drop off your old coats at any dependable cleaners and you'll get 25% off the cleaning of your own coat. Because the long and the short of it is, nobody should face the winter without a coat. So give to Coats for Colorado.
Les Shapiro's here. CU's #1 again. It's like deja vu all over again.
And it's theirs to keep or lose on New Year's Day, Bob. Finest football team in the land plays at Folsom Field. The Associated Press poll came out today, and the CU Buffs are #1. CU got 45 of 60 first-place votes. Miami was number 2, undefeated Georgia Tech 3, BYU, and then Florida. And then you notice here, Notre Dame falls to number 7 after losing last weekend, so the Orange Bowl won't be as attractive, but so what? What counts is CU is number 1.
To be ranked number 1 for the second year in a row for the entire month of December, let's say, I think that's tremendous publicity, notoriety for our program, and it certainly helped recruiting.
Wyoming's 63-year-old head coach Paul Roach is feeling tired. Understandable. He's the school's football coach and athletic director. Roach says when the season's over, he'll reevaluate and maybe give up one of the jobs. He wouldn't say which. Well, the Broncos started putting in their game plan for the Detroit game this Thursday. Quarterback John Elway wanted better communication with his head coach. He wanted more of a say in the play calling. Dan Reeves said, come on down, and today Elway did. It's his day off, but he showed up at headquarters to offer suggestions for the game Thursday in Detroit.
Put their ideas down that they liked in the passing game, and we're in the process right now of putting our game plan together. The biggest part of it is going to come from our coaching staff because we do more of a thorough film study.
But Elway will have input. Hey, the guy making the tackle here, number 90, Ron Holmes, was upset after the game yesterday. He said, give me more playing time or trade me. It sounded like heat-of-the-moment type stuff, but Holmes cooled down some today and met with defensive coordinator Wade Phillips.
You know, and he had some legitimate stuff. I mean, we discussed it. There's no problem. There really isn't a problem. We're going to let him come in the meetings and go over the game plan with
us. In reference to Elway and Reeves. Washington Redskins defensive lineman Dexter Manley was reinstated by the league today. He sat out a year, suspended for violating the NFL substance abuse policy, but the Redskins don't want him anymore. They put him on waivers today. Dan Reeves says the Broncos might be interested, but the organization would have to talk about it at length before they brought in another problem child. One game tonight in the NFL, the LA Raiders beat Miami in Miami, 13-10. Not very exciting. Raiders go ahead to stay on the Marcus Allen plow job, put him up 10-0. Raiders' other running back, Bo Jackson, had a nice run here, but he gets face masked, and folks, Bo knows penalties, so he went after Jarvis Williams. Hey, you don't tug on Superman's cape. You see this guy coming up here? Indianapolis head coach Ron Meyer. Been reports all year his job is in jeopardy. Rumors got hot this weekend, and Colts owner Robert Irsay was asked about it last night. Listen to this response.
You know, I heard a rumor this week that Ron Meyer was gone at the end of the season and that you were going to hire Mike White. Brett Edelstein, ESPN, said he had a source close to your son that said Meyer...
a little Jewish boy. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Unbelievable. In basketball, Nuggets were home to play the LA Lakers. You know, Magic Johnson, James Worthy, etc. Usually a sellout here at McNichols, but not tonight, not even close. And this is why. Nuggets lost big again, 122-105. There were about 4,000 to 5,000 empty seats. Nuggets guard Michael Adams still sitting out with bad hamstrings. Chris Jackson started instead, through the legs for Chris, and in. That was early when the Nuggets were kind of close. Then Magic took over. He finished with a triple-double despite sitting out much of the second half. And James Worthy had 25 points, including this basket as Corey Gaines corrals him. What? Nuggets Orlando Woolridge had 30, but the Nuggets lose again. They go to L.A. to play the Lakers Wednesday night. Other scores tonight, Milwaukee over Utah and Philly beats Charlotte. Baseball, Pittsburgh Pirates outfielder Barry Bonds is the National League most valuable player. Had a dream season, 33 homers, 114 RBIs, 52 stolen bases, and it was almost unanimous. The only other guy who got a first-place vote was his teammate, Bobby Bonilla. He came in second place, and Darryl Strawberry came in third.
Thanks, Les. All right. Bob's pretty hot about this Milli Vanilli mess. He'll tell you all about it in just a minute.
Presents its 30th annual production of The Nutcracker, November 30th through December 24th. For tickets, call 290-TIXS. Presented by the Colorado Ballet and Channel 4.
Not an easy story to report tonight. An update on the Milli Vanilli fraud. The lip-syncing duo has been stripped of its Best New Artist Grammy Award. First time an award's been taken away in the Grammys' 34-year history. Meanwhile, Milli Vanilli fans are outraged over the deception. Today, a Phoenix radio station chose High Noon to hold a record-smashing party. Driver of the steamroller donned a dreadlock wig to mark the occasion, Bill.
That's our news tonight. Thanks for watching.
Nice to have you with us on News 4.
Sealed doors at NASA.
And somebody said to lay on the floor, so it's laid on the floor. And he wanted to clean the safe out, and he told everybody to empty their pockets and the wallets and everything.
Customers and employees at the drugstore next door heard much of what went on. Sheila Hall says she heard 3 shots fired.
An employee at Food Lion ran into Standard Drug, and she said, please call the police, and she was just shaking all over. And she said that that the woman inside the little managerial post where they take checks and things said, she just heard her say, oh my God, please don't kill me, just don't shoot me.
Joyce Hall was hiding in the store during the entire 5-hour ordeal.
There was a customer who was right outside the case, and she had a baby in the basket. And when I realized what was going on, I heard the shot go off. When I realized what was going on, I just pushed her back in the back and just told her to hide.
How many shots did you hear?
I heard 3.
How long were you in the store?
Well, I've been in the store since 5:30 this morning, just got out.
Hostages say the man robbed the restaurant to get money for an operation his daughter needed. The FBI is searching for the person who apparently kidnapped a prominent Minneapolis-St. Paul banker at gunpoint Monday morning. John Grundhofer, the chief executive officer of the First Bank System, was abducted from a Minneapolis parking ramp and taken to a farm in St. Croix County, Wisconsin. Police say Grundhofer managed to escape unhurt 2 hours later after the alleged abductor left him unattended.
Well, first of all, I'm okay. And I have no idea why this took place this morning. The matter is now in the hands of the appropriate authorities. Right now, I got a bank to run, and that's what I intend to do.
According to authorities, the kidnapper demanded a ransom, but no money was exchanged. The crew aboard NASA's space shuttle Atlantis will remain aloft for an extra orbit. High winds in California prevented Atlantis from landing Monday. Officials at Edwards Air Force Base say Mission Control will schedule a second attempt for Tuesday afternoon. Whether Atlantis lands at Edwards or at Kennedy Space Center may not be known until an hour before the descent to Earth. The holiday toy buying season is just about upon us, and that means it's also time for the annual review of dangerous toys. The Consumer Product Safety Commission implored parents to think big as they demonstrated the small parts test cylinders they use to determine whether a toy could be swallowed by a child. The commission said they need the help of parents to cut down on child choking deaths.
They need to, first of all, think big when buying toys for children under 3. Toys that are small, that can be swallowed by a child, could cause a choking for a child under 3.
Small items like balloons, balls, and marbles are responsible for 70% of the choking deaths. Police in Washington, D.C. say they are baffled about a man who set himself on fire in front of the Capitol on Monday. Officers say the man used a type of accelerant to feed the flames. Fire burned the man too badly for officials to identify him by race or age. Officials do not believe the suicide was a political act because Congress is not currently in session. Police searched the area with canine teams for something that could identify the victim. The chairman of the House Select Committee on Narcotics says no thanks to recent rumors that Florida Governor Bob Martinez be named to the post of federal drug czar. New York Representative Charles Rangel says Martinez should not be President Bush's nominee to replace William Bennett because the job requires more than a political resume. A White House official says Martinez, a Republican, is the only person under active consideration. Also rumored around Washington is that William Bennett is expected to be named the next chairman of the Republican National Committee. A long-hidden cache of personal letters unveiled on Monday should give historians new insight into one of the leaders of the famed Lewis and Clark expedition. A spokesman from the Louisville Historical says the 47 letters from Captain William Clark are a tremendous find.
looking at the best glass company in the region, Complete Glass. Leading insurance companies love us. They know our prices are competitive and our people are the best in the business. From auto glass to storefronts, storm windows, shower enclosures, tabletops, and mirrors. Through the end of December, we'll donate $5 for each new windshield installed at Children's Hospital, because nobody treats children like children's. That's Complete Glass, 12th and Bannock downtown and 10535 Melody Drive, North Glen.
Right now at Chevron Chevrolet Geo, you can buy new Chevy trucks for $99 during our total truck sellout. You heard right. You can buy a new Chevy S10 truck for only $59.99 or only $99 per month. Now that's the Superstore way to buy. Plus, we're offering closeout discounts on almost 290 model trucks in stock with up to $1,000 factory cash back. So head for the trucks and save big bucks during our total truck sellout going on now. Chevron Chevrolet Geo, I-25 and the Boulder exit, Colorado's Chevy Superstore.
When I found out my son was into drugs, I found him a drug treatment center in our neighborhood. You help one person quit, and you help get drugs out of town. I'm a drug buster.
See that house next door? It's a center for people in drug treatment. When it started, everyone objected. Now we all see it as the way to get drugs out of here. We're all drug busters.
Drug busters don't let drugs win. A public service of the National Institute on Drug Abuse.
Hi, I'm Gary Coleman. I love trains and I've been a railroader for a long time. But this is where I do my railroading. These cars and trains can't hurt you, but these trains and railroad cars can. In the real world, trains can't make a quick stop, but you can. Help the railroad play it safe. When you come to a crossing, stop, look, and listen, as though your life depended on it.
And Wally Langfellow joins us now with a look at the nation's weather picture. Wally, take it away.
Some snow to talk about in the Pacific Northwest. Winter has arrived again in many parts of the Northwest. Right now, that snow continues in parts of Washington, Oregon, and Idaho. Snow advisories are out for much of the Northwest overnight. Those advisories in effect for the Cascade Mountains and the north and central coastal areas of the state. You can also see a winter storm warning posted for parts of Washington. Earlier in the day, much of the precipitation in the Northwest was in the form of rain. This is Cannon Beach. As I mentioned, much of the western part of the state saw either rain or snow through the day. Right now, the higher elevations are getting snow. Checking your latest radar picture, you can see all the activity through Washington state into northern Idaho as well. That storm system will bring rain and snow into the northern Rockies by later Tuesday afternoon. More than a foot of snow is possible in some spots overnight through the region. The overnight forecast calls for temperatures in the 20s and 30s through most of the nation. And still staying warm up through the interior. You can see 40s all the way up into Idaho, Illinois, and Indiana. 50s and 60s across much of the south. Some 30s still poking down into parts of Florida. On Tuesday, look for rain and snow along that front as it moves to the east through the northern Rockies. A chance of rain still in northern New England and clear to partly cloudy skies for most of the rest of the nation. Highs on Tuesday looking like this. Not too bad. 60s and 70s for much of the nation. Much cooler up in the northwest. 30s and 40s and some 50s and 60s in the east. On a Wednesday, pretty much the same story. Temperatures in the 50s and 60s for most of the nation. And that's been a look at America's weather.
The Wall Street Journal says it's closing its Philadelphia bureau at the end of the year to save money. Dow Jones & Company, which publishes the journal, recently announced a 17.5% drop in third-quarter profit, attributing it to a decline in advertising and the acquisition of a financial information service, Telerate Incorporated. Consuelo Mack has more business news in the Wall Street Journal report.
Will Michael Jackson prove to be the thriller of the entertainment business? Sony Corporation is banking on it. The Tokyo-based electronics company, which owns CBS Records and Columbia Pictures, is expected to announce a new wide-ranging agreement with the recording superstar, including television, movie, and high-tech visual projects. Though terms aren't yet available, it's already being called the industry's most lucrative deal with a single entertainer. It is not without risk, however. Other attempts to develop movies with Mr. Jackson have failed, and virtually no big recording stars have made a successful crossover into film. Well, the nation's 7th largest accounting firm is going bankrupt. According to published reports, Laventhal and Horwath, 350 partners voted to file for Chapter 11 protection from creditors and to disband the firm. The reports say Laventhal's troubles stem in part from costly lawsuits. one allegedly challenging its audits of televangelist Jim Baker. Laventhal would not confirm the reports. And on Wall Street, stocks pulled back somewhat from an early rally. The Dow still gained 15 points, however, in slow trading. Despite turmoil in the Middle East, OPEC says it will meet as planned next month. There had been skepticism over whether the meeting would take place since three of its most important members, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, and Iraqi-occupied Kuwait, are on the brink of war. The failure to convene could have meant the end of the organization, which has a major influence on oil prices and supplies. For the Wall Street Journal, I'm Consuelo Mack.
Workers affected by exposure to asbestos will now receive lower compensation from the Manville Trust. The plan unveiled on Monday restructures payments so victims of lung cancer and other respiratory ailments would also receive compensation. The restructured trust would pay asbestos victims according to the severity of illness. Up to $520 million in new contributions will be given by Manville Corporation. Where in the world is the best place to live? The Population Crisis Committee has taken a survey of 45 nations and has found Melbourne, Australia to have the most desirable living conditions. Rounding out the top 5 are Montreal, Canada, Seattle, Tacoma, Washington, Atlanta, Georgia, and a city in Germany. 5 cities with the worst living conditions include cities in Nigeria and Bangladesh. The panel looked at such factors as murder rate, food expense, living space, infant mortality, and pollution. Astronomical population growth threatens 50 of the world's largest cities.
Good morning, everybody. Just in time for holiday travel. It looks like winter is working its way into the Rockies. A lot of snow, maybe even a little bit of rain working its way down with a series of cold fronts moving in from the west and the northwest. Now, a couple of things to explain on all of this. It looks like the mountains and western sections of the mountains are going to be picking up the snow. East of the Continental Divide, less snow down to no snow as you get out farther into the plains. That goes for Colorado, Wyoming, and even eastern sections of Montana. Some of the eastern sections of Montana could be picking up snow, but this looks like a mountain system, and this will be the last big play before it moves out into the plains and tries to dissipate over the next couple of days. Out on the plains, meanwhile, out ahead of all of this, there could be some rain, possibly mixed up with some very, very light snow, but mostly rain all the way from the Gulf Coast region clear up into the central plains. Here in the west, 2 cold fronts, and on the heels of that, a bit of a cooling going on, but this is not going to be the coldest system we've had so far this year. For the mountains, though, it could mean 6 to 12 inches of snow, and that's great news to people who are trying to open their ski area. Temperatures around the nation cooling off in the west with the cold fronts. In the east, we're looking for a variety of weather over the next 24 hours. 40s in the extreme northeast, all the way to 80s if you're going to be down into southern sections of Florida. But again, the cold front pushing the warmer air out ahead of it, and it looks pretty nice if you're heading east. If you're going west, you might want to allow a little extra time. The outlook for Colorado. It looks like most of the snow is going to be confined to the west and to the mountains. Could be rain mixed with snow. Overnight, on Tuesday going into Wednesday, there's a winter storm watch for the mountains of Colorado, and that goes for all of the mountains. In the west, cooling off a little bit. Out in the mountainous regions, 30 to 40 for highs and 58 to 68 out on the eastern plains. Let's take a look at the forecast that will take us through 5 days, right up to Thanksgiving, and then a little beyond. Windy today and partly cloudy, a high of 59 and a low of 28 degrees. And then as we extend that forecast, we're looking for things to cool off just a little on Wednesday. But through the weekend, things will really be warming up nicely.
Teams in the history of Monday Night Football went head-to-head at Joe Robbie Stadium in Miami. The AFC East-leading Dolphins played host to the AFC West-leading Los Angeles Raiders, a defensive battle until late in the second quarter. A 79-yard Raider drive ends with a Marcus Allen touchdown. He goes in from the 2, and LA is up 10-zip. Then Miami moves the ball 77 yards in 7 plays, all on Danny Marino passes, and with 18 seconds left in the half, he finds Scott Schwades in the end zone, a 14-yard strike. Raiders up 10-7 as we head into the locker room. But the second half was all defense, and the Raiders win it 13-10. Now, let's check the scoreboard.
trickster Manley has been reinstated in the NFL. NFL Commissioner Paul Tagliabue announced the decision Monday, 1 year after Manley was banned for substance abuse. The NFL said Manley must avoid drug involvement and take part in a support program. Immediately after reinstatement, the Washington Redskins placed the defensive end on waivers. Phoenix and Cleveland are apparently interested in signing him. Indianapolis Colts owner Robert Irsay is in a little hot water. Sunday in the Colts locker room, he was asked to comment on a statement made by commentator Fred Edelstein concerning Coach Ron Meyer.
You know, I heard a rumor this week that Ron Meyer was gone at the end of the season and that you were going to hire Mike White. Fred Edelstein, ESPN, said he had a source close to your son that said Meyer...
a little Jewish boy. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Irsay formally apologized through a team spokesman on Monday. Pittsburgh's Barry Bonds is this year's National League MVP. He batted .301 with 33 homers and 114 RBIs, helping the Pirates to their first Eastern Division title in 11 years. He was a near-unanimous choice, getting 23 of 24 first-place votes. His teammate Bobby Bonilla finished second in the ballot.
We knew I was capable of hitting 20-plus home runs, but I was also hitting 240 or 260 or 280. Well, I needed to hit 300 and not hit so many home runs and then put the two together in 91. Well, I happened to put everything together in one time, and I guess when you do hit 300, a lot of good things do happen in the process.
Finally, the Colorado Buffaloes are now the #1 ranked college football team in the nation. Here's a look at the lineup. That's sports. I'm Lisa Molosky. More news ahead on your All News channel.
At Emick Dodge, we have great buys on Chrysler rental returns. 1990 Dynasties, 10,988. 1990 Grand Caravans, 13,988. 1990 Premium LeBaron convertibles, 14,988. 1990 Chrysler Fifth Avenues, 15,488. 1990 Spirits, 95,88. Financing from 9.5% APR. Don't miss out. Come to Emick Dodge today. Emick Dodge doesn't want to sell you just one vehicle. We want to be your auto consultants for a lifetime.
Lincoln, right? Yes, sir. Okay, you're looking for an executive position. Yeah, but what about the college?
Well, I've done a lot of reading and studying, sort of on my own.
I know you're a smart guy. You know you're a smart guy. You ain't going nowhere without that sheepskin, fella.
Discover CLEP, the college-level examination program. CLEP tests can earn you college credit for what you know.
You're not really what we call executive material. We'll call if you get something.
Ask about CLEP at your local college or job. Make learning pay.
Archaeologists say sites they discover from the 17th century are especially rare and reveal interesting new facts about early American history. J.P. Verwey reports how a dig in the historic state of Virginia is working to clear up some age-old mysteries.
This is the future side of a championship golf course, but to a group of archaeologists, the focus for the time being is on the past.
This house is one of the first ones.
This is the site of a wooden home built around the year 1620. All that's left at the site is post holes and scorched clay. But archaeologists say the home that stood here was sturdy.
We think that the reason for that is that this site near Jamestown represents an area where people came in the early part of the 17th century to make their fortune and leave. It looks like these people came to stay.
This is also the site of at least 4 other settlements, all about 400 years old. Scientists say a wealth of information has been left behind.
I'm lifting underneath the ground.
Artifacts like medieval farm implements, a matchlock musket barrel, padlocks, and ceramics.
A garage full of shopping bags full of artifacts, and the dirt has not even been washed off of them yet. So we're just beginning.
Kinds of information that we're interested in is material that you're not going to find in the history books.
First molar comes in at 6. Your second molar comes in at about 12, so you get a 12-year-old about.
There's a lot of things that we can look at concerning change in size through time, changes in craniofacial morphology, a lot of information concerning mortality and the health problems and the diseases that these people experienced, and the bones will tell us that.
All of the information will be compiled into a research publication to preserve a slice of history for future generations. I'm J.P. Verwey reporting.
'Tis the season to head off to grandmother's house for that traditional Thanksgiving Day meal. And even with higher fuel prices, more Americans will hit the road this year than last year. AAA says more people will drive 100 miles or more for Thanksgiving. But the nation's air carriers are not expecting the same travel surge. It's probably the most unusual race you've ever heard of. It doesn't sound all that weird, but it is. An Iowa couple has engaged in a week-old Breeders' Cup race with other couples, and the objective was to conceive a child first. Guess what? James and Lisa Macamere are going to be parents. A doctor has confirmed the Macamers are pregnant, but it took a little prodding. A radio station sponsored the race, so the fertile couple will pick up a $1,000 savings bond, a crib, and 6 months of diaper service, and a new baby, too. And that's the news for this half hour. Thank you for joining us. There's much more news ahead.
Hello, I'm Bernie Gartland. Do you have a tax or IRS problem? Call American Tax and Law Center. If you are suffering through sleepless nights because you haven't filed tax returns in several years, let American Tax and Law Center bring your tax returns current and show you a method where you can pay the taxes owed on your terms, not the IRS's, without penalties and interest. Call American Tax and Law Center now.
The number to call is 592-5992.
Despite all the warnings about high blood cholesterol, some people are oblivious to its dangers. Dangers like a heart attack. Have a doctor check your cholesterol level, and if it's high, learn what to do about it. Life has enough risks.
The news.
Topping the day's headlines as the U.S. and Soviet Union ponder a military solution to the Persian Gulf crisis, Iraq takes steps to boost its military might. Arizona Senator Dennis DeConcini delivered an angry defense in front of the Senate Ethics Committee in Washington. DeConcini is the last of the so-called Keating 5 senators to address the panel in a bid to be cleared of influence peddling accusations. The shuttle Atlantis and its 5-man crew is looking at another night and possibly more in space. The spaceship's scheduled landing was delayed due to strong winds. And Arizonans will go to the polls again on February 26th to choose a new governor. The runoff election was forced after no candidate in the November 6th general election won an absolute majority. And those are the headlines. Stay tuned. There's much more news ahead.
Our local Dodge dealer is dropping prices during our tough 4x4 truck sale. This is our biggest sales selection of 4x4 trucks ever. Full-size, club cabs, Dakotas, Ram Chargers, and imports. Our full-size Ram pickups rank highest in truck customer satisfaction of any full-size pickup for 2 straight years. Plus, now get $3,200 total savings on select full-size 91 pickups in stock. Or get $29.95 total savings on select 91 Dakotas in stock. Hurry! Sale prices end November 30th.
I want to be a doctor, a judge, electrical engineer, a chemist, a dentist.
The American dream is alive, nurtured in part by the United Negro College Fund. The fund reaches out to deserving students with a quality education, an education that turns wonderful young dreams into realities.
I want to be president.
And you'll be tough to beat.
Please, support the United Negro College Fund.
Hello, I'm Gordon Steinke. Iraq says it's sending another 250,000 troops to Kuwait, more than double its current deployment. The Iraqi news agency says the United States would now need 3 million soldiers to attack Kuwait. We have 2 reports on the situation in the Persian Gulf. First, here's Roderick Pratt.
Saddam's latest tactical move was announced after Iraqi television showed this meeting of the Revolutionary Command Council. Baghdad is boosting its military strength in Kuwait by more than half. 250,000 fresh troops are to be deployed, joining the 170,000 already there. But that would still leave Iraq on the short side of the military equation by more than 100,000 soldiers. By the end of January, the multinational force ranged against Iraq should total 550,000 troops. But Saddam's strategy is, as always, two-pronged, with a stick, another carrot. Information Minister Latif Yazim explained the Christmas gift of freedom for all Western hostages is conditional on President Bush promising not to attack.
If he gives us this assurance, we will make all the guests leave Baghdad and Iraq as soon as possible.
Arriving in Baghdad, this group of people volunteering their services as human shields of a new sort. They call themselves peace campers and say they're only the advance party of a much larger force for peace to come. They aim to plant themselves on the border between Saudi Arabia and occupied Kuwait.
All here gathered to prevent that war, and we all insist that only by love and negotiation everything can be achieved.
While Iraq announced it was doubling its forces in occupied Kuwait Monday, President Bush in Paris for the signing of an arms reduction treaty by NATO and Warsaw Pact members was trying to win more support for a United Nations resolution authorizing an attack to drive Iraq from Kuwait.
Our success here can be neither profound nor enduring if the rule of law is shamelessly disregarded elsewhere.
But there are signs that President Bush and Soviet President Gorbachev do not see totally eye to eye on the use of force against Iraq. Gorbachev urged patience in the Gulf crisis and reiterated his position that a peaceful solution should be found. British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher, however, warned that war may come if Iraq does not withdraw from Kuwait.
If he does not, then he has to be removed by force. This is evil. The things that are going on in Kuwait are terrifying. They are brutal. And most people understand that evil has to be stopped. Either he withdraws or the military option has to be used.
Meanwhile, President Bush and the 33 other leaders of the Warsaw Pact and NATO laid the Cold War to rest Monday as they signed a treaty to dramatically reduce conventional weapons on the continent. The historic agreement was the opening event in a three-day summit of the Conference on European Security and Cooperation. The White House is condemning Iraq's latest military buildup as another example of Saddam Hussein thumbing his nose at the United Nations. While Monday was a day for celebration for the world leaders in Paris, British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher now faces a tense day as she faces her first serious threat to her hold on government. 372 Conservative members of Britain's Parliament will participate in a secret vote that will decide whether Thatcher or Michael Heseltine leads the party. On Monday, Thatcher accused Heseltine, her former defense minister, of favoring opposition Labour Party policies. President Bush promised to help with the evolution of the Soviet market system by sending food to the Soviet Union this winter. Bush made the statement before entering 2 hours of meetings with Soviet President Mikhail Gorbachev in Paris. The emergence of a market system in the Soviet Union has been hampered by severe shortages of food and materials. Bush said the offer was an attempt to help preserve Gorbachev's democratic reforms. Secretary of State James Baker is traveling the world, meeting with the 15 members of the UN Security Council. Baker arrived in Paris on Sunday. He's seeking support for a resolution endorsing a military assault if the UN ordered embargo on trade with Iraq fails. Iraq says the UN resolution may disrupt its plan to release all foreign hostages. Some diplomats say the proposal could be made before the end of the month. A jetliner carrying 67 Americans and 9 Canadian refugees who fled occupied Kuwait arrived Monday night at Dulles Airport outside Washington. A State Department spokesman says the flight brings the number of American citizens and family members evacuated from Kuwait to approximately 2,250. A number of the passengers on the flight told reporters they could not stand conditions in the emirate since the takeover by Iraq. The weather came out the victor in U.S. war games to storm a beach in Saudi Arabia. Officials canceled the Marine hovercraft assault altogether after heavy seas and high winds blew away Monday's second try at the mock invasion. The Marine commander says the assault would have gone ahead in the case of war, but casualties would not have been worth incurring for a practice. Some officers on an amphibious landing ship say the assault might not have worked in combat either. Weather was also the factor in California as NASA announced the mission of the shuttle Atlantis is extended at least for a day. Winds at Edwards Air Force Base in California shifted around, producing crosswinds that were out of NASA limits. The goal of the military mission was accomplished Friday when the astronauts were believed to have deployed a spy satellite. A flight director for NASA says the shuttle is prepared to stay longer in orbit if necessary.
So we have plenty of capability both in electrical power and environmental supplies to fly all the way to Thursday, which we know is not going to be necessary. But we do have that capability to extend the mission should other weather events keep us from landing.
The Atlantis crew broke the strict radio silence imposed on military missions to send greetings to U.S. troops in the Persian Gulf. Another case involving a Northwest Airlines pilot, alcohol, and the law. A pilot arrested for allegedly driving drunk while on his way to work on Memorial Day pleaded guilty to careless driving. Officials say 39-year-old Hans Falkenberg of Prescott, Wisconsin, was fined $700. But $200 of the fine and a jail term were suspended for 1 year. Falkenberg has since been fired by the airline. A series of explosions 4 blocks from the White House forced authorities to close a subway station and evacuate people from nearby buildings. Police say several electrical explosions shot a flurry of sparks into the air next to the world headquarters of United Press International. There has been no immediate report of injuries, but authorities continue to search for a construction worker believed to have been on the site at the time of the explosion. Witnesses say it looked as if part of the alley behind the building caved in. Arizona Senator Dennis DeConcini launched a personal attack against Special Counsel Robert Bennett during his opening statements before the Senate Ethics Committee.
Bennett says that the facts tilt. No, the facts don't tilt. He tilts them. And why does he do that? Because he's like all of us. He's got something at stake here. And it's not just representing this committee, gentlemen. He wants a victory. He wants to nail somebody. He wants to get somebody, I'm sorry to say. He wants another trophy on the wall.
In response, Bennett said the issue at hand was not his personal goals, but the conduct of the senators that brought them before the committee. DeConcini is one of 5 senators under investigation by the panel for allegedly intervening with federal regulators on behalf of former SNL director Charles Keating. And former Thrift executive Charles Keating now faces 46 counts of fraud in connection with his failed Lincoln Savings and Loan instead of 42. Prosecutors have filed revised charges in the case, providing more specific examples of reported wrongdoing. Los Angeles Deputy District Attorney says the revised charges correct flaws cited by a state judge who ruled that 22 of the original counts were too vague or unsubstantiated. Doctors and a congressman charged that research into diseases ranging from breast cancer to AIDS is suffering because of a government ban on the French abortion pill in the U.S. The Food and Drug Administration was sharply criticized during the hearing on the status of the controversial drug RU-486. Congressman Ron Wyden of Oregon says there are 2 reasons why the drug's manufacturer is boycotting the U.S.
The arbitrary, political, and unscientific RU-486 policies of the FDA and the protests that have been promised from anti-abortion groups. The fact is the drug's manufacturer has simply made a business decision to use its supplies only in countries where government regulators will give them a fair shake.
The FDA defends their decision to issue an alert on the drug, saying it can cause serious side effects. The Arizona House voted to set February the 26th as the date for a runoff gubernatorial election. The bill now heads for the Senate, where approval is expected despite complaints by Indian lawmakers that voters may be kept from the polls by heavy snow on reservation roads. Democratic gubernatorial candidate Terry Goddard trailed Republican Fife Symington by half a percentage point in the general elections. State law requires a governor be elected by a majority of the votes cast. Last year's Best New Pop Act is this year's disgrace to their fans and the music industry. Milli Vanilli is set to officially give up their Grammy Award Tuesday in Los Angeles. The reason? They did not sing on their debut multi-platinum album release, Girl, You Know It's True. Last week, the group's producer fired them because of that, confirming suspicions